You should be the host here.
We're laughing at you.
We're both Munster people, diehard Munster people, and we want them to do well.
The Red 78 with Alan Quinlan and Niamh Briggs. Nobody knows Munster rugby better.
I'd like to think I know a lot. Hello and welcome along to the Red 78 here on the Rugby channel. I'm Alan Quinlan and with me as always is Niamh Briggs. We've got to our 20th episode, Niamh. That's good.
We haven't killed each other yet, Quinny.
Not yet. We've had, I suppose, there's a feeling. I have a feeling anyway that we haven't got to that real kind of business end and big games. There's lots of big important games. Europe is behind us a few weeks, and when you have fixtures during the Six Nations, which was never supposed to happen. Obviously they were postponed fixtures down to COVID and stuff like that. We need the season to ramp up a little bit now, but we'll talk a bit about it at the end. When Munster play Saturday week, they're going to have nine weekends, successive weekends, so that's going to really test the squad. So I'm sure between here and the end of the season, it's really going to ramp up. How was your weekend anyway? Were you playing?
We played Belvedere it's kind of like a dead rubber because the AIL final that's taking place this weekend was already fixed. So Blackrock and Ray are going to be in that. So we play Belvo again this weekend in the third fourth playoff in kind of a big domestic kind of day of rugby. So everything is taken part and energy apart. There's 3 games there. So it's going to be great for the game and live on Teaching Gahar, which is brilliant. They've been a huge advocate for women's rugby. So yeah, look, disappointing again for us, but we'd made a lot of changes and gave a lot of young girls some AIL kind of valuable game time for next season. So yeah, disappointed not to be in the final this Saturday.
Are they double headers on an Energy Park?
Yeah, so we play first and then the conference final. You remember I was telling you that the AIL is split in 2. So Suttonians play Galwegians straight after us, and then at 7:30 then is the final that evening. Blackrock Railway, which will be a cracker, I've no doubt, 2 very good teams. So yeah, still a bit sore that we're not there, but we'll definitely have learned a lot from the season. And on the back of that,
you'll want UL Bows obviously to win.
Yeah.
But look, there's 4 teams there on show. Will you be watching from an Irish point of view as well?
Absolutely.
Six Nations is 4 weeks away now.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a big day for them because you get to see girls under pressure at the highest level in terms of our domestic games. So how do they react? How do they play? So it'll be great. Look, it's going to be a great day, and I hope that lots of people come out and support it. And then so from that disappointment to the high of Spurs winning, Quinny did Liverpool a favour, 3-2.
Did Liverpool a big favour? Yeah, really happy.
Harry Kane, what a performance! I think he was just trying to show Pep that he missed out in the summer, but yeah, no, great win. Brought you back into the league.
Yeah, big time. Really happy with that. As always, we want you to be involved. You can always tweet us at Rugby Channel 15 or at either of our personal Twitters and leave a comment on the YouTube video. We have some thoughts here from the weekend on Munster's performance and
Munster's win, to be fair. Bonus point
win.
I
suppose. Yeah. It's I put a tweet out yesterday just to see. There's lots of messages. Adrian O'Donoghue, great performance, bounced back really well. Zebo hat-trick was a warm feeling about it. 2 moments stood out. Clote running with Farrell still held up over his head. That was from the kickoff, and Casey sweet reverse pass to prevent ball going into touch. Niamh Barron marks. Munster have had very few complete performances this season. They're in good parts. They are good in parts, and then it becomes very disjointed at times. We've talented players. We need them to start using their rugby brains. Oof. Not happy. Niamh Barron marks.
Yeah, I can see her point of view a small bit in terms of not about using their rugby brains, but they definitely. It's very difficult at that level to be consistent and literally be so ruthless for 80 minutes. Very few teams can do it. Leinster can, because they've been playing at that level for a long time. I thought first 20 minutes once were really good. I thought they weathered a good Edinburgh storm throughout the game. Definitely inconsistencies in terms of what they want to do from a defensive point of view.
There's plenty of mistakes and stuff.
I thought
we'll get into them in a minute. Peter Graham, I saw Edinburgh play London Irish in the Challenge Cup. They are gritty and streetwise group who constantly walk the line. So any bonus point victory against them must be considered a good result. Well, I said it last week, a bonus point win would be a good result. We'll talk about the stats in a minute because they were really interesting. Sometimes stats can lie, but the stats would suggest, if you didn't see the scoreline, that Munster didn't win the game. Michael Coveney, fantastic result, but they fell off the pace a few times during the game. But it was worth it, the admission charge to witness Craig Casey's sublime reverse pass alone.
That was outrageous.
Just on that point about falling off, I think there is a certain element with this side at times that they do, they've sustained periods of pressure and do lots of good stuff, and then they seem to switch off a little bit and come up with a soft error, which brings the opposition back into it. I think in all levels of sport, if you're coaching, as a coach as well, they're the kind of small moments, pivotal moments in a game that you really want to kind of turn the screw, and it takes time to learn that and to be ruthless. So Michael's point there is very relevant. Ger Hawk, a good win, great to see Killer flying around on his big night. Yeah, well, look, that's 200 caps for Dave Kilcoyne. We will talk about that. I remember running out onto Thomond Park myself for my 200 cap against the Ospreys. It is special, and it's a milestone that he deserves a lot of credit for, particularly, with him being involved with Ireland for so long as well. Marie Boylan, we were always going to win that match with a bonus point. That's brave. We made hard work of it. Let Edinburgh back into the game too many times. Can't do that with bigger teams. Well, that's the point we're making. We need to have much more of a killer instinct, reduce penalty count, and stop relying on tries in the dying minutes to get bonus points. Yeah, similar kind of theme about what we're talking there about letting teams back into the games. Whether you do that or it's a conscious decision, I just think it's about coming just more clinical in certain areas and frustrating the opposition. But it's a point well made there. James Harrington, Edinburgh made Munster look better than they are. The unforced error rate was very, very high. Well, the unforced errors from my stats, turnovers conceded were 12. I think they were 18, 19 last week against Glasgow. So there's a bit of a reduction there. And when you analyze any match or videos, I think there's two areas that you want low, and that's the penalty count and the turnover count. You want them low. Obviously, you want your set piece numbers high and a high percentage around breakdown and stuff, but turnovers and penalty count were probably a bit too high. Ray Desmond, hi Alan, I'd call it a weak win. Edinburgh were poor and Munster were only just a little bit better. No disrespect to Zeeves, but I have a dog at home who would have scored four tries in that game. Well, that's a bit tough from Ray, isn't it? Yeah. We will talk about Simon Zebo's hat trick in a few minutes.
I know, to be fair, like obviously majority of those tweets are kind of similar in terms of good performance, good win. I don't know if people give enough credit to Edinburgh. I think they, Blair Kinghorn was excellent at 10, a really, really good playmaker, super player. Then you have the likes of Boffelli on the wing and Moya, Imamov. They're three Argentinian back three, super players. And Mark Bennett at the centre I thought was one of the best players on the pitch, former Scottish Sevens, GB Sevens star, and he created that hole for Moya to go in and score that first try. And I think the big thing is that, for the first 20 minutes, like I was doing commentary for that game for a local radio station in Limerick, and first 20 minutes I was like, this is brilliant. Like the intensity that Munster went around the corner, how square they were in their carries, their ability to move the ball very quickly. They got over the gain line quite easily. Their set piece was really good. And before you know it, they're 13 points up, I think. And then you're thinking, okay, like this is going to be a complete another whitewash. But then one small defensive error, Edinburgh get a try, and then very quickly followed up with a penalty, and you go from 13-0 up to 13-10. And that's probably those kind of inconsistencies that we're talking about.
Yeah, and they're the moments that kind of allow teams back into it. It's sometimes it's the defensive decision. Edinburgh are actually one of the top three sides in the three major leagues, you know, in the Premiership, the URC and top 14 at keeping the ball through phases. So they're right up there at their ball retention. So they're very dangerous sides. Immelman at fullback is a bit of a monster. I think he's a brilliant player. And, you know, Fenter up front, he was spiky enough throughout the game. Adam McBurney, very good players, Edinburgh, and not kind of as many household names as Glasgow the week before, but a very settled side who were very, very dangerous. I know they have a number of players away with Scotland as well, but they made it really difficult. I just want to talk about some of the stats, and this is something that kind of maybe comes down to control and a bit of ruthlessness from Munster. I went through the carries that the forwards had on Friday night. And remember, you're playing a home game. You're on the back of a loss the week before. I know the weather conditions were really difficult for both sides, but I just think the carry count from the forward pack is low. I'll just read them out. Dave Kilcoyne, 4, Dermot Barron, 1, Stephen Archer, 2, John Klein, 7, Finian Wycherley, 4. He got a try as well. Jack O'Donoghue, 5, Chris Clote, 5, and Gavin Coombs, 6. I just think collectively that's a low number.
I know, but if you flip that around, Quinny, so in the first 20 minutes, because they were getting such front football, they were able to go to width very quickly. So there was a lot of more backs that were carrying in that sense. Like Chris Farrell carried a lot in those moments of play. And then for the next probably 40, 50 minutes of the game, Edinburgh had all the possession. Do you understand what I'm saying? And I think
I know sometimes stats can lie, but I mean
you're used to Sander. You're used to Sander carrying 25 times in a game. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, I know, but I just think that this isn't a criticism. It's just I'm just saying it's a low number for a pack of forwards. And I think if I was in that pack, I'd be disappointed. I know sometimes you don't have the ball, you got to kick it, you play for territory, and it's stop start and all that kind of stuff. And I think Munster, you know, it's not a criticism. I think, as you say, in the first 20 minutes, they were putting the ball through the hands. So there wasn't guys carrying the ball. And in fairness, they had 106 passes in the game. It's not their highest. Edinburgh had 169 passes. But the possession then, you know, 59% possession for the away team in Thomond Park is something that jumps out to me. You know, Munster won the game 34-20 with a bonus point win, and we acknowledge that. But I just think you're talking about control, taking the sting out of the game, controlling the tempo, and they could have done that better on Friday night. Okay, they came up with some errors again, and you know, this team is trying to learn and develop as they go. They're far from, you know, from being where they want to be. I'm sure they're working incredibly hard. But territory as well, 54% territory for Edinburgh. So 59%, 54%, they're pretty high for the away team. And Munster had 30% possession the second half. A lot of that was down to the second half. Bar the first 20 minutes, you know, as you said, Edinburgh had a lot of the ball. You've got to figure out, Niamh, a way to get it back and to hold on to it yourself and to, you know, carry in tough conditions. Okay, so we look at they're the carries.
Yeah, but can I just say something to you? And I agree 100% with some of the stuff you're saying. For me, though, a big thing about this Munster team that we probably wouldn't have seen beforehand was their ability to come up with scores at crucial times. So brilliant, as we said, straight out of the bat, really good first 20 minutes. And then Edinburgh were really getting on top. And right on half time, Zebo comes up with a try. It's probably his first proper touch in the game. And you're thinking, Edinburgh are thinking to themselves, oh my God, we've just dominated the last 22 minutes or whatever it was, that, you know, and we're 13-10 down. And then all of a sudden you're going in and it's 20-10 at half time. And then after the first half begins, Edinburgh get a quick penalty and then they look like they're going and they get another try. And you think, okay, we're kind of onto something here. And then all of a sudden, you know, Munster click into gear and Zebo gets 2 tries, if you understand what I'm saying. So their ability to probably break that trend or stop that Edinburgh momentum at crucial times was definitely important. Something that we haven't seen a huge amount. So
very important. And a couple of people texted me after the game saying that it was a scrappy win, hard fought, all that stuff. I was pretty impressed with what I saw. you're always going to have some errors and mistakes and just some decision making in the right areas.
Yeah.
And of course, they're trying to learn that. But, you know, when you get the bonus point win, but if you want to strive, and we're talking about striving here to be a team that's incredibly hard to beat, they've got to protect the ball a little bit better, make some more sensible decisions. They'll know that themselves. They won't need us to say it. Just from a fan's point of view, that's the general consensus, that it was scrappy, lacked a little bit of control at times. But that Zebo try, that was a really important one just before halftime, as you said. Yeah. And that's, you know, good teams, and maybe that was something they can build on going forward. It's just before halftime. You know, the periods before halftime and after halftime. And under Joe Schmidt with Ireland for years, people were giving his team so many plaudits about, you know, scoring just before halftime and even coming out in the second half and really kind of putting the opposition under pressure and coming up with underscore. So it was a really important score in the context of the results, because Edinburgh were right back in it, full of confidence, full of belief. I'm just going to move on to the tackles, because it's worth kind of teasing this out. The tackle count of the forwards, which was high. Dave Kilcoyne 14, Dermot Barron 12, Stephen Archer 8, Jean Klein 20. And week after week, John Klein, I know he still has there's a perception after what happened at the World Cup and the way it was disappointing, and he got selected over Devon Toner. And sometimes I think it's a little bit unfair. He's not the most skillful second row, but he's a brute and works his socks off. He 20 tackles, Finian Wycherley 13, Jack O'Donoghue 7, Chris Clote 11, and Gavin Coombs 19. So they're high. And I want to reiterate the point for the listeners. This is not a criticism, because I've played in matches and, you know, my stats have been low, but sometimes you're in the right position. You don't end up making a carry or a tackle, but you're playing to the system. We used to always slag John Hayes because John, in fairness, worked so hard in games, but he would nearly always be a pillar or a post beside the breakdown, because that's where you wanted John if someone was picking and going, with respect to him. But, you know, sometimes he only had 3 tackles, 4 tackles. But you could count 25, 30 rucks where John was killing himself to get there, to be in that position. Scrum half looked up, saw John Hayes and said, I'm not going to be wrapped up by him or run into him. So stats can lie sometimes. The carries one, my point about the carries is, and again, if you're coaching a team, I always love the fact that if you can get your 3 or 4 ball carriers in your pack getting into the early teens, mid-teens with carries, it means that you're penetrating, you're working, doing the hard yards. You're giving pivotal points for your backline, your scrum half to run off. And that, you know, look, the flow of this game was stop-start at times as well. So tackle count very high, carries low. John Hodnett came on, made 11 tackles and 4 carries. John Ryan, seven tackles. Niall Scanlon 11 tackles. You know, so that again, they're indicators that what way the game was going.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think that, you know, Edinburgh and we've spoken about it. They hold on to the ball really, really well. Bar a couple of probably indecisions or you know, poor probably decisions in and around their system of defensive stuff. Edinburgh never really troubled the Munster line. Like, there wasn't a huge amount of pick and jams. There wasn't a huge amount of, you know, pop passes. They like, a lot of their territory and their possession was in and around the 2 10-meter lines, if that makes any sense. And so yeah, look, I do think that a big thing for me is that we associate Munster's defensive structure off line speed and energy, and I felt at times, maybe because they were doing so much of it, that they just didn't have it. If that makes, you know, they kind of seemed to be a little bit flat in terms of their defensive energies. But for the most part, I thought, you know, when you're given a team or an opposition that amount of territory, that amount of possession, and you concede 20 points, 13 of them were in, you know, a 10, 15 minutes spell. You're doing well. Like,
on 2 occasions, Edinburgh came back to 1-score game. Dan Goggin 13 tackles and Ben Healy 11 as well. I think one crucial point and a crucial point in that second half was when Edinburgh had that 5-meter penalty and they tapped and went with Gevit Venter, who was very powerful.
And some hit by Killer.
Yeah, it was dislodged the ball. John Ryan as well, I think.
Yeah,
they dislodged the
it was
ball.
the line speed. If you go back and watch it, Killer is literally standing out of view of Venter, and the minute that Venter taps the ball, Killer just literally closes his shoulders in and comes up and hits brilliant line speed. And he celebrated that like he celebrated a try for sure.
Yeah, it was.
We got a fist bump.
It was brilliant, desire and energy, and that's what you want. You want people to step up like that. So, quick synopsis. So overall, a really important win, I think, from in the context of the league table, and with the game being at home as well. So, your overall synopsis, they're back up to Munster, up to fourth. 5 points off Leinster, who were back on top. So they're back in a pretty decent position. Strong, a lot of tough games coming up in the next 9-10 weeks. But your overall impression, quick synopsis, mixed bag from the tweeters, but I was impressed.
Yeah, I was too, to be fair, and got a bonus point win. The wind was howling, like it was swirling so bad, and Ben Healy kicked very well, I thought. And I thought a big thing for me was their fact that they were able to turn the screw at crucial moments, something we hadn't really seen a huge amount of them do before. So yeah, good win, very good win.
Standout performers. We'll talk about the hat-trick hero in a few minutes.
Jack O'Donoghue was immense.
Yeah, he was. Big immense performance from him as well.
And Jan Klein, immense. I thought Clota was huge for his 50-odd minutes or whatever it was. He played for couple of big turnovers, and he really is so good on the ground. And then obviously, the one that's gone viral, holding Chris Farrell over his head, outrageous strength. But yeah, look, I thought, and I thought Ben Healy moved the backline around very well. So yeah, some good performance for.
Okay, they don't play. Munster play on Saturday week against the Dragons, and that starts that run. We'll talk about the fixtures in a few minutes. We're going to move on to, we're not going to move on yet. We have to mention the man of the moment, Dave Kilcoyne. We're talking a little bit about a minute ago, 200 caps for Munster. This is a significant milestone for any player. I'm lucky enough to have got over that 200 cap mark as well. There's a number of other players, and we're starting to see a few in the modern era. Stephen Archer, Billy Holland, now Dave Kilcoyne joined some of the old foes that have gone before them. It's a brilliant achievement for him.
Yeah, massive, considering that he's away with Ireland a couple of times a year as well. It's huge. And like, I was only looking up there this morning, that 200 club, the Donners, you obviously mentioned Billy Holland, Raj, Stringer, Marcus Horn, John Hayes, your good self, Mick O'Driscoll, Wally and Anthony Foley. And I just think that if you're a Munster supporter, a Munster fan, they are the legends of the club. And for Dave Kilcoyne to join that is super. I think very well deserved. I thought he was excellent the other night, considering he's been away with Ireland and haven't done a huge amount of game time. So yeah, I thought it was brilliant. And to be fair to him, he was supposed to get it before just after Christmas, and pulled up sick on the morning of the game, which I had heard that he was going on all week about how great he was to get his 200 caps. And so to finally get it over the line was brilliant for him. Great win, great performance. But like that list alone, geez, like some amount of legends in that, and yourself, of course. But
you're not categorizing me as the legend, but I don't want you to. But no, it is. I genuinely, one of people often ask what are your best moments, and obviously winning the Heineken Cups was really special. Some big trips to France and stuff. But I remember in 2010 running out first against the Ospreys, and literally Paul was captain, I think, and he let me go out my own first. And I didn't really know that was going to happen, but I just think it was a really special kind of tingling feeling in your inside of me, when I just felt that, God, I've been, 200 caps is a really nice achievement to have. And it was really special. And I'm sure Dave Kilcoyne felt that as well, as did Billy Holland and Stephen Archer, incredible servants as well, and all the other previous players you mentioned. So it's 12 now that are over 200 caps. I'm sure many more will, because lots of these guys have been around for a fair bit, and to get 200 caps for your home province is really special.
Class.
Yeah,
It's class.
it is. So we're going to move on to are you watching Andy Farell piece this week? And I picked Simon Zebo. I picked him because I of the 3 tries, and also my belief in his ability or what he can do. And he's like a striker in soccer. He's just a finisher, and he has this ability to, you know, find a little bit of gas, be in the right place at the right moment. I know the first try wasn't. You or I would have scored that, Niamh. He was close to line. Brilliant hands from Ben Healy and Chris Farrell. But I just think the other 2 tries were his ability just to send someone making a line break, that bit of anticipation, be in the right place. And I think the bonus point try that he got, he just has this incredible surge of acceleration. And I just felt when he got the ball, Ben Healy did really well to fix the defender. And then Zebo gets just on that outside of the Edinburgh winger and can just surge past. We're talking about stats here, and we have to be. I know Zebo, we're giving him massive credit here for scoring the tries. He'd probably kill me for saying, well, he didn't really touch the ball much. He's touched the ball. He'd 4 runs in the game, and 3 of them were tries. So he didn't have a huge amount of involvements, but he had an incredible impact at the right moment. So the reason I picked him, as I said, was because I believe that Simon Zebo, and we know he has this X factor. We know he can kind of light up the crowd. He's only started 7 games this season. He's played 6 games and 20 minutes because he was sent off against Ulster. Between illness, injury, and the COVID disruption, he hasn't got a run of games. And he's the kind of player that needs to nearly get 4 or 5 weeks on the trot to get his match fitness up. Does he need to be fitter and sharper and work harder? Possibly, because I think the whole makeup of modern day wingers has changed. Your work rate needs to be through the roof. You need to be a ball player. You need to come in field. You need to be chasing kicks. And if I was saying strengths or weaknesses, strengths are brilliant finisher, like a striker in soccer, but the weaknesses possibly are some of those things. What do you think?
Yeah, look, I agree. I think his ability to anticipate a line break is class. I think he literally, any little sniff of a line break, he runs incredible good lines that it's very difficult to stop. You're right, he accelerates onto the ball so well. And a couple of other things. He's got an incredible left boot that I don't think we use enough. And secondly, his range of passing is actually really good. So if you ever got to see him play for Racing, you know, when he's playing full back, he used to come in as a second playmaker and be able to send the likes of Curtly Beale and Tay Tama down the wing, and but with incredibly good flat passes. And we haven't seen that either, you know, this season with Munster. So I think people don't probably give him enough credit for his overall abilities. Is that though because is he a product of how Munster play at the moment, or is it a product of the fact that he doesn't work enough off the wing? And I think it's probably a bit of both, to be fair. And I'm sure he'll be the first to admit that. I just think that when you have a player like him with that X factor, that talent, and I don't like to compare players because it's never about that. But when you look at the likes of Mac Hansen and James O, who are up there at the moment with the Irish camp, they're constantly looking for the ball, they're constantly moving, they're constantly working off their wings, they're constantly offering themselves in tight spaces, and then have the ability to bounce back out to the width. And that's probably an area of work that I don't know if it's an area of work that Zebo needs to work on. I just think you've hit the nail on the head. I just don't think he's played enough games to be that sharp.
Yeah, he's played against the Sharks, the Stormers. They were the first 2 games at Thomond Park. He scored 2 tries.
Very well.
Scored 2 tries. Lent to the field one. Sharks lost the ball, and everyone goes, Zebo's back. They're chanting Zebo. We haven't seen enough. Sharks, Stormers, Connacht, Ulster, which he got sent off for. Against Ulster, got that red card rescinded. Wasps, Glasgow and Edinburgh. So he's 35 caps for Ireland. The last time he played for Ireland was in 2017. That was before he went to Racing. He's back now, says he has the desire and wants to play for Ireland, and that was the main reason why he came back. But I do agree with you. And look, Simon doesn't need us telling us what he should or shouldn't do. But I just think he has natural ability that's you can't coach. It's hard to coach. He just has this X factor.
For me, he's one of the most talented players in the country.
Right. Okay. So if you were a coach and you're standing in front of one of the most talented players in the country, and he's saying to you, "Why am I not on the Irish squad?" What would you say to him? Work harder, get fitter.
It's not even a case of working harder, get fitter. I just think you need to incorporate a game plan around him so he gets his hands on the ball as often as possible. I think,
and to be fair, he needs to play matches, as we said.
Yeah, and so like Jimmy O'Brien's been called into the Irish squad this week on the back of playing a lot of matches and playing very well for Leinster on the basis that the Irish players were in camp, and Zebo just needs more games. I think more games to get that match sharpness and an ability to be able to move around the park in terms of offering himself as that second playmaker. And I think it's a little bit harder from the wing position, but I just think he's also an incredible passer. We just don't see a huge amount of it.
And I'm sure Andy Farell will have taken notice, because obviously when you scored 3 tries in a game, the Irish coach will have taken notice. He's 31 in March, I think.
Yeah, age is only a number.
Yeah, so look, I think there's still a great opportunity for him with New Zealand coming up. November international, Six Nations next year, World Cup. And I think it'd be great if he could get back to that level again, because I think he has the ability, and he scored 3 great tries. It reminded me when I played underage soccer, and I was lethal from about 1 yard. I scored loads of goals from about 1 yard, but I didn't. If you had to get me to make long shots or anything like that, or dribble past people, no good. But Zebo can run, he can pass, he can kick. So he has everything that's required. But I think the template is now, whether you like it or not, is all about work rate coming in off your wing, and that's an area where he probably needs to show Andy Farrell that he can do, and he can do it at a consistent level to get back into that squad, because he has incredible natural ability and talent, and he brings a kind of a jovial kind of spirit to whatever group he's with. So that's my Andy Farrell Are You Watching piece for this week. So we're just going to have a quick chat about really quick about Ireland, Italy. We covered the disappointment last week. They're probably fortunate in a sense that there's not as much pressure this week. Maybe pressure sometimes is good, but if they were playing England this week, they have a chance now to kind of recover, click back into gear. Italy have been poor so far, and they've a number of players out injured as well, and a few more after the weekend with their clubs. Should there be any changes? I think the big debate would be, Niamh, it looks like Johnny Sexton is going to be fit and available. He's the captain of the team. The debate will be, should Joey Carberry start against Italy and get another run out, or should Johnny Sexton go straight back into the team? There's for and against, in my opinion, but what's yours?
Yeah, I agree. There definitely is for and against. I just think that, coming up to the last couple of weeks of the tournament, then, you will have Johnny starting in Twickenham and Murrayfield, or Ireland versus Scotland, sorry. I would start Joey this week. I think another week starting, and then you're also not running the risk of Johnny reoccurring, that because hamstrings are niggly, yourself, and you give him maybe 20-30 minutes off the bench, then he's in good stead for the following week's training, and then on to the 2 last big games. So that would be my opinion. I do think that Joey played very well against France, and I'd love to see it. Love to see him kind of expand on that and evolve around that with the confidence, knowing that you've got another start, as opposed to trying to make things happen coming off the bench. I don't think there'll be many other changes other than that. I think momentum is huge for this team now. I think that the way they play, I like the fact that they're so competitive, and they've got such a good culture there that we're not just going to make a rake of changes for the sake of it. We're going to have everybody to earn that jersey to start, I think off the bench we might see some changes. I think I'd like to see Killer come onto the bench. I think his performances last week warranted it. And yeah, I think.
What about Craig Casey and Gavin Coombs?
Yeah, I think that's a difficult one, because I think Gibson Park, is obviously that number one at the moment. But you take Murray out of that squad, and he hasn't played a huge amount of game time in the last 4 or 5 weeks. And if Gibson Park, gets injured in the first few minutes against England, then you're expecting Murray to play 80 minutes, having had very little game time. I think that's unfortunate, but I think that's the way it is. In terms of Gavin Coombs, I think it's very difficult to squeeze into that back row. You're looking at dropping either O'Mahony, and the big question is.
But we need to see him at this level. If he's kind of in the squad, this is a great opportunity to put him in there and see what he can do. Craig Casey got his first cap against Italy last year, so this is the game that if these guys are good enough to be in the squad, I think there should be some changes around. I know we're talking about the Munster players here. Craig Casey, there's an argument to say yes about Conor Murray, then he won't have played for a few weeks, but maybe Murray and Casey will be the halfbacks. Who knows? It will be really interesting though to see. Joey Carbery-Sexton one is the big one, because everyone has an opinion on that. I think there's certainly value in starting Carbery again and hoping that he can kick on and get his mojo back, because we know he's incredibly talented. And then Johnny Sexton's drive, desire, commitment, he'll want to play and he'll want to get back out in the field and captain his country again. So that's probably one that's interesting. Just to finish, we don't have any real gossip or news because we're still waiting on the coaching ticket to be sorted, which is kind of running on. We're nearly at the end of February now, and for various different reasons, it's going through a process that's a bit slower than Munster fans would like. I think they'd certainly love to have an announcement. Just on the Munster fixtures, we just a brief chat. They've no game this weekend, but from the 5th of March when they play the Dragons, they'll have 9 straight weeks of matches. This is going to be a real test of the squad depth now, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And in that bundle is a trip away to South Africa, which is going to be incredibly difficult.
I just call out some of them, Niamh, and you can react to them. So they play Munster Dragons, then they're away to the Bulls in South Africa, away to the Lions in South Africa. They're back to back, so they're going back. They'll be over in South Africa for 2 weeks. Then they come back and play Benetton at home on the 25th of March, and then they have Leinster away on the 2nd of April. Good preparation for the back-to-back Exeter round 16 games, which are the 9th and the 16th. And then they're away to Ulster, home to Cardiff. They're incredibly difficult fixtures that will really test the mettle of this squad in the next two and a half months.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that, we've been crying out for consistency in games, and we're getting it kind of on the other kind of end of the spectrum. But look, it's going to be very, very difficult. And but you're right. I think the fact that they've used so many players this season already. I think you said a couple weeks ago 53 or 54. That means 58. Actually, sorry,
yeah.
Jeannie. And that means now that they've blooded these young guys and given them game time, so that when they need to use them over the next few weeks, they can do so, knowing that they're capable.
Okay, busy period anyway, and we'll have loads of content to talk about, and hopefully loads of interaction from Munster fans' opinions on selections, performance, and a really critical kind of period, because look, you need to win these games to be in URC playoffs, qualify for Europe, and then of course the round 16 games against Exeter. So the pressure is going to ramp up, and hopefully that they can get to a level that finds that bit of consistency and be in the mix for both competitions. Just finally, the under-20s or Ireland under-20s are playing on Friday night. Brilliant win in France the last time. They're on track, dare we say, for a possible Grand Slam. Richie Murphy's done a great job, and the players, but there was 5 Munster players involved in the 23 against France. Patrick Campbell and Ethan Coughlin started. Their names that kind of jump out from the Wasps game over in Coventry in December. And then you Conor Maloney, Tony Butler, and Darragh McSweeney. So good luck to them Friday night. I think Italy beat England, in case anyone doesn't didn't know that.
And Steve Aboud has done a huge, he used to be with the RFU and he's gone over to Italy over the last 5 or 6 years, and he's done incredible work from their underage setup. Their under 20 side are really starting to, they've pulled out a lot of good results over the last couple of years. So and he's incredibly astute, intelligent rugby guy. So I think it won't be a walk in the park for this 20 side.
Okay, that's episode 20, the Red 78 done and dusted. To make sure you get your podcast straight to your phone every week, just search for the Red 78 wherever you get your podcasts and press subscribe. Don't forget to get in touch with your thoughts. You can tweet us at the Rugby Channel or our own personal Twitter accounts. Probably on the Ireland performance this week and looking ahead to the Dragons, or any other thoughts that come out in the next week or so. Thanks, Niamh, and chat to you next week.
Thanks, Quinny.
The Munster Rugby Podcast, Red 78 with Alan Quinlan and Niamh Briggs. Nobody knows Munster Rugby better.